Tonight we focus on the Bola Tinubu presidency. 8 months after, President Bola Tinubu, since assuming office, has had a hell of a time tackling national challenges. It's hard to tackle issues ranging from the continued impact of petrol subsidy removal to the various forex policies by the Central Bank of Nigeria and their impact on trade and economic stability to tackling national insecurity, which has led to killing of citizens by anti-state actors. The rising cost of living has led to protests in some parts of the country, with Nigerians demanding succor from the federal government due to high costs and shortage of food. The government has responded by urging the release of 102,000 metric tons of grains amid reworking national food security strategies and strengthening of monetary policies through the central bank. He's also had to tackle the issues of insecurity through several meetings with military service chiefs while working with state governors to tame national challenges. But governors elected on the platform of the main opposition People's Democratic Party are calling on the president to immediately put in place more initiatives, as Nigerians are getting weary and the constant fall of the naira could lead Nigeria to a near Venezuela situation. There have also been calls from prominent Nigerians for President Tinubu to act swiftly. Earlier today, the Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, also joined the call, saying that economic hardship is alarming. But President Tinubu had previously asked not to be pitied because he asked to be given the job by Nigerians, having understudied the nation's challenges, and that he's ready to tackle the nation's problems head-on. As Nigerians still await more reforms from the Tinubu presidency, many have been assessing President Tinubu's 8 months in office already. Tonight, I'll be speaking with the accomplished journalist and media executive, Bayo Onanuga, who is the special advisor on information and strategy to President Bola Tinubu. He's also a former newspaper executive at The News and former director of media and publicity at the Tinubu-Shettima presidential campaign. And I'll also be joined by an analyst to help us understand the issues earlier said on the program. I'm Somna Sambo, and this is Arise Primetime. Very warm welcome to the program. And now for some news just in. Governors elected on the platform of the main opposition People's Democratic Party are calling on President Bola Tinubu to immediately put in place initiatives that will bring the country's economic crisis to an end. The governors, after their meeting in Abuja a few moments ago, said the meeting focused on various issues of interest and concern to the country. Bauchi State Governor and Chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, Bala Mohammed, while addressing journalists, said Nigeria is almost on the road to Venezuela, while calling on the federal government to work with all stakeholders to provide succor to Nigerians. The governors also reiterated the call for state police with appropriate safeguards to avoid any abuse or overreach by any tier of government. They also decried the falling value of the naira and requested the monetary and fiscal authorities to find appropriate solutions. Let's listen.
The cost of living is going high. We are almost on the road to Venezuela. We have experiences all elsewhere. So we are giving concrete and positive opposition, but not insulting anybody.
Well, the accomplished journalist and media executive, Bayo Onanuga, who is the special advisor on information and strategy to President Bola Tinubu, joins me right now. At the moment, he's also a former chief executive at The News and former director of media and publicity at the Tinubu-Shettima presidential campaign. Thank you so much for joining us right here on the program.
Well, thank you, Somna, for inviting me to our program.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, lots of anxiety over the economic conditions of Nigerians. How would you react to the PDP governors and what they've said that actually we need to really rise up?
Well, let me say that I welcome the intervention of the PDP governors. I think with what they said today, they've shown concern, and they've also shown that the problem we are going through is not just an APC problem, it's a problem that should concern all Nigerians. And I think they have behaved very, very, very responsibly, and they should be commended. But I think I'm going to allay their fear. Our country will not be like Venezuela. Our country is being run by responsible people, and they are trying day and night to ensure that we don't fall into that kind of trap like Venezuela, like Zimbabwe, and even Argentina. countries that have had the kind of experience they are going through. What we now see something like hyperinflation. Not just inflation, it's hyperinflation. We've had the experience where people go to the market today or yesterday and they find maybe a product is 1,000 naira. They go the following day, it has increased to 2,000 naira. And the third day is found the thing has jumped again to 3,000 naira. The kind of experience people have had with pharmaceutical products. People have found that drugs they were buying for, let's say, 1,200 naira suddenly became 4,800 naira. And you keep wondering what is the justification. And my own understanding of it, as a layman, as a journalist, is that some of those price increases we are witnessing are very, very artificial. Everybody just increasing prices. And because if you align it with the exchange rate, if you even want to dollarize the economy, you cannot really support the kind of very steep price increase we are going through in this country. So I think, I said I welcome what the PDP government said, and I hope the Tinubu government will take in its strides their suggestions and again step up the policies currently being implemented to ameliorate the hyperinflation that we are facing as of today.
All right, you work for President Tinubu directly and you've known him for quite some time. Talk to us about the inner thinking and inner working of President Tinubu as a person, because Nigerians are beginning to question some of his policies. Right there at the Eagle Square on May 29, 2023, he took a very critical decision, which people say is the underlying factor for all of this. That's the issue of the removal of fuel subsidy. And the thinking within Nigerians is that, did his transition committee recommend this? Why did he have to stand right there on the podium to make that announcement if he didn't give a critical thought to it? Did he consult his predecessor, former President Buhari, to actually know why Buhari refused, despite all the talks by IMF and the World Bank for him to remove the fuel subsidy, on why he didn't? Some would say that Tinubu just took an instant decision without it being as a result of collective investigation. How do you react?
Let me correct that. You know, during the campaign, all the major candidates, either former Vice President Atiku Abubakar or former Governor Peter Obi and President Tinubu, they all had a consensus that subsidy must go. Not because they don't know the implications of saying so, but because they know that as the subsidy thing had become something like an albatross on our economy. By the end of May, in fact, the Buhari government, it's not true that the Buhari government was not going to remove it. Buhari government has already set in motion a plan to remove it by the end of June, just a month after Tinubu swearing in. And President Tinubu probably felt that there's no need to postpone the evil day. It's better we just face this problem once and for all. That was why he made that decision that day, that this thing has gone. And of course, that created some problems in the economy. People panicked. People were rushing to fuel stations to fill up their cars and so on and so forth. And of course, there were other fallout from that. But I think at that time, it was justifiable because, number one, I said it had become an albatross. By end of May or so, the government was already owing the NNPC about 4 trillion, which it was not willing to pay. It didn't have the resources to pay. Yeah, even NNPC had been complaining. And NNPC had become just the only importer of PMS. And it was, of course, very glaring. In fact, if you remember, before May 29, people were already having problems with petrol supply. It was getting scarce, which was an indication that even for NNPC, it was getting more and more difficult to spend scarce resources to import the fuel. So it was becoming a real problem. And for NNPC, the decision of the President Tinubu to remove it on 29 May 2023 was a big breather for them. At least it gave them some leeway to begin to, as a company, to breathe. You can see the effect subsequently. They were able to remit money to the Federation account and so on. And the company also began to report a healthier balance book according to what they are telling Nigerians. But you see, the government knew that subsidy thing was going to be a problem. And even though it took the decision on that 29 May instead of waiting till 30th May, as I said, because government did not want to postpone the evil day, we are going to have that problem. The subsidy has become a problem. We are consuming about 65 million liters every day, and the bulk of it was not being consumed by Nigerians. Smugglers were taking it out because our fuel was cheaper than the West African fuel, and even now, it's still cheaper. Even now, NNPC says there's no subsidy, but even the international agents like IMF, World Bank, they believe that some form of subsidy has actually returned.
You work in the government, you should also know.
NNPC says there's no subsidy. Government says there's no subsidy. So
how is the gap being bridged?
I believe what the NNPC is saying, said there's no subsidy. The government says there's no subsidy. So I believe what the NNPC is saying, but some people are in their own computation, they are saying there must have been some kind of subsidy. But as I said, government says there's no more subsidy. But even if there's any subsidy, the fact that the government has not allowed the NNPC to increase prices shows some level of compassion that the government has for the Nigerian people. Because they know that, I said, at that time, the decision was very, very essential. There was no way, it was inescapable that government needed to take that decision at that point in time.
All right, so some of the opposition political leaders have been saying that, look, we all knew it was going to go at some point, but of course we would have worked out. Your major opposition, Atiku Abubakar, said, look, from his own thought, he had planned that there was going to be a $10 billion fund to help drive the challenges that may arise as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy, while what President Tinubu has done, if you quantify, is not up to about $1 million so far.
You know what Atiku said was that to get the $10 billion, he was going to sell off NNPC.
Yes.
He was going to sell the NNPC and assets to cronies and friends and so on. So he was able to raise $10 billion from that. But as I said, it's a question of chicken and egg. If he wanted to remove the subsidy, and if he tried to remove it from day one, because there will not be any country from June 2023, if that subsidy had remained, things would have been far worse than we have today. So it was a very, very important decision. And I said government has been making efforts since then to try to see what they can do to improve things. I mean, to ease the burden of Nigerians. The president empathizes with our people. He knows that they are going through pain, and he has been saying so, that he really understands the pain that our people are going through, and is making efforts to make sure that he reduces the pain.
Well, you think so? Because people are saying that President Tinubu is not talking. I mean, when we had an economic crisis in 2008 in the US, for example, former President Obama, while he was in power, he kept talking to the people. Look, we are in trouble, but we are working towards the trouble. For example, the federal government said that, look, we were making some savings and we're going to be, after removal of first subsidy, and then you will see that when we go to the Federation Accounts Sharing Committee, states will be getting more. Now, yeah, there's more money, but people are getting more poorer. People are unable to afford more food, which has led to protests and all of that. So people are saying that, where are the savings? How come those savings are not having an impact on our livelihood?
I think our people should actually, and the media, I would say the media also, we should begin to direct a lot of questions to the states and the local councils. As we say every month, the allocation, the FAC allocation to the states, to the federal, to the total of government, the local councils, the allocation has increased. And then people keep focusing on the federal government, as if federal government is the only player under the three tiers that we have. The states collect a lot of money. The councils collect a lot of money. And we should be asking all those two tiers, what are they using their resources to do? Like I said today, the PDP governors were saying that, oh, federal government should do this and that. What is the role of the states? Don't forget, when we started creating states in 1967, under General Yakubu Gowon, the reason, the logic, what they told us that by creating more states from the 4 regions the military inherited in 1966, that we are going to bring government closer to the people.
Yeah.
We broke down the councils. We have 774. Our country today is the most governed country in the entire world. Too many government structures. But our people are not seeing the effects of government getting nearer them. Instead, they are getting poorer and poorer. We are wasting a lot of money on administrative costs rather than on improving the lot of our people. In the UK, for example, you know, houses that we see there, people living, they say they are living in council flats.
Yeah.
But what are we doing? What are the councils doing? What are the local councils doing? What are the state government doing to improve the lot of their people? So I think last week I watched a program on Arise TV. There was an interview with true farmers. And the farmers are saying something that I made a lot of sense, that their farms are located in some local councils in Nigeria. They expect the local councils to be of assistance to them. But no, nothing from them. Everybody is saying federal. What has federal done?
Well, that's why President Tinubu
federal is not the only actor.
Yeah.
The states, people should begin to interrogate the states. Honestly, that's what I believe, that if you don't do that, we just be focusing on federal.
Yeah, I mean, those are some of the fiscal reforms that we expect from President Tinubu. Let's go to the the flip side of it, the economic part of President Tinubu's policies, the unification of the currency and all of that, both the parallel market and all of that. Now, we've seen President Tinubu, through the central bank, removing these 43 items that were there, that the CBN was, in one way or the other, had these issues of forex, which the Buhari government, you know, said that the issues of forex that have to do with it were going to be focused, you know, centrally there. And then all of a sudden, we have seen the CBN under Cardoso saying that that's not going to happen. And people are beginning to ask, what exactly is going on with that policy? I mean, I think it was sometime around October that the CBN issued that policy. And when you flip it together with some of the currency fluctuations, people say that there's a nexus between the CBN policy, currency fluctuation, and then the rising inflation that we're witnessing. How is the president tackling all these issues?
Well, we need to go to the fundamentals. Why are we having currency fluctuations? Or why did the CBN lift the restriction on those banned items? Those banned items are not banned from sourcing forex under the BDC or what they call the parallel market. They were not banned from importers, are not banned from importing them, but they say no, there will be no official money for them. They can source their money anywhere. What the CBN did was that, look, there's no need to pretend those items were still coming to Nigeria. Why don't you just leave the ban and see whether it will ease the pressure on the currency market? That was the reason the decision was taken. And if you look at why we say currency, under Emefiele regime, under the last administration, according to reports in the media, the CBN was spending about $1.5 billion every month to support the naira at the official rate, which was about 450 naira to $1 or so, whereas in the parallel market, it was going for almost double that. So you find a situation by some people who are close to the former governor or close to some people in government who are collecting money at the official rate and then doing what people call an economic crime, called arbitrage, selling this money, round tripping, selling it in the unofficial market, and then making a lot of money for doing nothing. These are some of the things that the government is trying to stop. And you know, during that time also, the FDI finally just dried up. Nobody wanted to invest in an economy where you have two exchange rates or even multiple exchange rates. They want a stable thing that if I bring in my dollars, when I want to take it out, I can take it out through the same kind of channel. So the government, that was why the government said, no, let us try to harmonize the rates to one single rate. And I think today, if you look at what is going on, both at the so-called parallel market and the official market, the gap has virtually closed. And then you also found, I also read in the paper from what the CBN reported, Governor Cardoso, in the last 2 weeks or so, about $1.5 billion had come in. Because there is the volatility has reduced, stability has come in. And investors can now see that maybe there are now better prospects in Nigeria in investing in our country instead of the other time when everything, dollar official was at a time 800 naira and in the other markets was going to 1,400 or something. And But now the two are actually now coalescing, and with that, I believe that more money will start flowing to the economy for the betterment of our country. Governor Kaduz has already said that the value of the naira as of now is undervalued. So if you can sustain the stability we're having now, if we can ensure that we don't have the volatility anymore, I'm sure the naira will begin to work stronger and stronger, and probably go to the rate that Governor Cardoso envisaged it should be, instead of the rate we have now.
Yeah, and what rate is the government looking at actually?
Yeah, I think that's the plan. From what is clear, the CBN has continued to say so, that what they are trying to do, that once they can achieve stability, the naira will regain its value.
Okay, let's talk about the outcome of some of the economic policies that President Tinubu has also put in place. And people are beginning to wonder why President Tinubu doesn't really have an economic management team fully in place that would help him, because it looks like the situation has gone out of hand. Will you agree with his critics who actually say that, look, President Tinubu needs to put in place a full-fledged economic team because, there's this soaring inflation, and you would have seen those protests on issues of food. And now what people are saying is that it's not as if there is no food, but there's no money to be able to purchase the food. People are growing hungry and angry, and they're wondering if President Tinubu is actually concerned about this.
I can tell you he's very, very concerned. Last December, for instance, because of this kind of concern, his empathy with Nigerian people, he approved that Nigerians traveling to some parts of the country should enjoy some 50% discount, and those who wanted to travel by rail can actually enjoy a free ride. I think at the last count, over 160,000 Nigerians took advantage of this kind of gesture. The president is very concerned. As a leader, he is a very compassionate person. He feels what Nigerians are feeling. He feels their pains, and that's why you're always looking for all kinds of things to do to really improve things, so that people can really enjoy staying in this country. See, what is happening is that our country is a very, very poor country. Very, very poor.
Well, many Nigerians would disagree with you. They say it's the economic managers that are
I will tell you why I say we are a very poor country. I think we have a wrong impression about the wealth of our country. It's exaggerated. This country, for example, look, if you start from minimum wage, you find that our country, when you compare our country to a country like Kenya or South Africa, let me even use South Africa. South Africa's minimum wage is about $240 a month. In Nigeria, at 33,000 naira, just about $39. Yeah. Look at the gap, and you can see this reflected in other wages. If you look at what the Chief Judge of South Africa earns, it's about at the rate of dollar now, must be about 20 or 30 times what Nigeria's Chief Justice earns. And it's all over. Today I was again watching Arise TV, and they were showing the statistics from multi-choice, subscription, and the income. You can see the gap. What South Africa what they are getting from South Africa is about I think more than about 3 times or 4 times what they are getting from the rest of Africa, including Nigeria, which shows that many Nigerians cannot really afford to subscribe to a service like DSTV, and they need it. So, if you look at but for me, the indices of poverty is very there. It's obvious that we have it, and people are poor, and that's why when we have this problem we are facing through now, they cannot really adjust because they don't have the disposable income. It's a very pathetic situation, and the government is concerned, and that's why there are talks now about reviewing the minimum wage, which again,
what the NLC is saying.
The minimum wage, let me tell you,
the
last time it was done under
President
Buhari, when the wage was increased to 33,000 or so per month, or 30,000 per month, till today, 26 state governments could not pay it. 26 out of 36, only 10 are paying. The rest are still paying the whole rate, or maybe they've just improved a bit. But most, according to the people who have monitored it, say 26 state governments are unable to comply. 26. So, whatever the government wants to do now, even if we increase wages to 100,000 naira.
Well, the NLC is saying 1 million. That's what they are looking at now, not even 100,000. Because if you go by the dollar rate at 1,500 naira to $1, it's no longer feasible for them to even ask for 100 or 200,000. I don't even say
if we increase to 100,000 naira, will the federal government won't be able to pay?
You think the federal government won't be able to pay?
When you look at the money the government, the financial position of government now, look at the last budget, or look at what the government inherited. Low revenue, both very high domestic and foreign debt, repayment of debt consuming, according to Buhari budget, about 97% of revenue. This country was already broke. But now, the prospect now is that because after we remove the subsidy, the government is hoping that the pressure on our finances will reduce, and it's already reducing. If you look at this budget of this year, the deficit is projected to be about 6 trillion, compared to the 14 trillion that the Buhari government had planned for 2023. So I think there are signs that things are going to improve. And government is also planning that its revenue will increase.
Yeah, but not from ways and means this time around, because the CBN is not going to give
the finance minister
any advances
saying
again.
The government wants to reduce borrowing through all these ways and means. And if you look at what federal revenue brought in as of December last year, it went about 10-point-something trillion or so. And the FAS is projecting that it can make close to 20 trillion, which means Nigeria will be handling enough income or enough revenue closer to what people are saying. At least we'll be having about maybe about 18-20% of our GDP. So all these things are on, and things can only get better. But I don't know if you look at it again, out of the 28 trillion budget, we are projected to spend about I think 9 trillion or so on recurrent expenditure, 8 trillion on deficit on existing, 8 trillion on debt repayment, and another 9 trillion on capital. If we increase wages to a level that government will not be able to cope, then there'll be trouble. Even the federal government will not be able to pay.
All right.
So everything has to be very reasonably done.
Yeah, Mr. Onanuga, does it also worry you right now that as we're speaking about 90 MDAs, that's ministries, departments, and agencies of government, haven't paid the January salary? Why is Tinubu's presidency owing federal workers for over a month? According
to the briefing I got today, that is not simply true.
Okay.
The Office of the Accountant General announced towards the end of January 2024 that there was a problem with the platform they used to pay. That's what they call the give miss or something.
Yes.
That there was a problem with it, and announced that the salaries will be delayed. So many people were not paid as I went due in January. They were paid in the first week, and some were paid in the second week. Some got their money as I learned on Friday last week.
Yeah, but there are several who still haven't got their money as we're speaking.
Well, according to what I was told, all federal workers have been paid. According to what I was told, that yes, salaries were delayed, but most of them have now been paid.
Okay, as we try to move the conversation forward, I want you to talk to us about some of the meetings that have been holding. We've been seeing several security meetings holding, but President Tinubu's government is being seen in a very bad light when it comes to the issues of insecurity. Talk to us about if there are plans to actually bring some of those lofty ideas that you had in your renewed hope mandate. For example, the issues of forest guards, the issues of reforming the military and all of that, to ensure that people sleep safely. I mean, within the nation's capital here in Abuja, you would have seen how families are being kidnapped here and there. And people just say that it looks like President Tinubu haven't got into the Aso Rock presidential villa. It just feels aloof.
No, it's not. It's not. I said he's very much concerned about the problems of insecurity. He wants to implement the idea of forest guards, not just forest guards. He also wants to do something like coastal guards. Is it not a shame that our country today, our coast and our oil resources, oil assets are being protected by non-state actors? When we have the Navy, when we have the civil defense and everybody, the army and everybody who are supposed to guard those things. And we have to hire a non-state actor to do it. The president is concerned, he wants to set up the coastal guards, he wants to set up the forest guards, and I can tell you that we still discussed it last week, and he's very committed to it. I think he's trying to take his time to make sure that it's done well, so that there is no mistake about it, and because everybody knows that all those people who are kidnapping our people, the bandits and so on, they use the forest that we have as refuge. And the only way you can destroy them is to make sure you have people who are well armed to counter them and so on. So it's the forest guardian is in the pipeline. He wants to do it. And
people say he's not been empathetic. I mean, when there was a killing in Plateau State, we didn't see so much about him. But in other countries, when there are killings here and there, I mean, you people in the presidential media office are issuing statements and all of that.
That's not true of him. That's not true of him. When it happened, I think it was in Lagos then. It was in Lagos for holiday, and he sent the VP to represent him, and the VP went there and empathized with the people and so on. It's not in Tinubu's character. That's not Bola Tinubu that we know. Every time anything like that happens, he really empathizes with them, and if it were possible for him, we would have gone there. But I think it's despite the VP to show that even in Kaduna, the one that happened in Kaduna, the VP also represented him. Yeah. And I think the VP, every time he goes to those places, he always says he's there on behalf of the president.
So the security reforms are still on course. Well, talk to us about the blight in Tinubu's government. I mean, we've seen corruption scandals erupting in the humanitarian ministry, that ministry that is very strategic to help poor people in the country. And people are saying that there's a nexus between corruption and, of course, some of the street protests that we're seeing, the lack of food or affordability of food and all of that. How is President Tinubu going on with the issue of corruption allegations against his ministers, especially Betta Edu of the humanitarian ministry? I mean, there was a presidential statement that the National School Feeding Program had been suspended for 6 weeks. What's the update on it? What's the update also on the presidential panel that was set up to investigate Betta Edu?
No, there was no presidential panel set up to investigate Betta. What the panel president set up was to look at the financial operations of the humanitarian ministry, all those programs they do. That is what those people are looking at, to see how they can improve the template of giving out money to the vulnerable society. It is the EFCC that is probing Betta Edu. And I'm sure very soon the FCC will make. How
about the committee that's being led by the finance minister?
That's the one. That's the interministerial committee to look at the financial architecture of that ministry, of that humanitarian ministry. If don't forget, even under President Buhari, the woman who was there also had some problems and so on. She's also she's also facing probe of the FCC. I think it's clear that something is wrong with the way money is being disbursed in that ministry, and it's only by improving how this is done, the modus operandi, that we can really achieve what that ministry is meant to achieve.
Yeah, but is there no hope Betta Edu is coming back to her position?
I cannot say for sure. I cannot. Okay. I cannot prejudge what the FCC will come out with.
All right. As we try to coast home, Bayo Onanuga, talk to us about how there's a growing anti-Tinubu sentiment in northern Nigeria. I don't know if the president has been listening, or if some of you have been bringing it to his attention, that people are actually fed up with some of the outcome of the policies that he has had. And in northern Nigeria, the imams are talking every day. When it comes to the CBN policy of relocating some departments to Lagos, you could hear the Arewa Consultative Forum speaking. And then, of course, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, there were talks here and there. Is President Tinubu actually worried about this? And hasn't he heard that the Senate chief will be saying that there are political consequences for this action?
Well, you know what happened in northern Nigeria? Some of the measures of the president or policies, not even his policies, Federal Aviation Authority What they did was merely administrative. The fan headquarters has always been in Lagos, but under Adi Sirika, he chose to bring it to Abuja, whereas the majority of the management of fan, they were all based in Lagos. So most of the time, because Sirika wants to see their faces in Abuja, they will fly into Abuja, they will fly back to Lagos, because Lagos remains the hub of aviation. So in the aviation ministry, even it was fun. He said, look, we are going back to Lagos instead of all this to and fro. And I think by the last count, they said they had spent about 2 billion on flight tickets alone. Now they talk about accommodation cost. And so they said, because Lagos is still where the headquarters is supposed to be. That's what it's administrative. Some people just chose to politicize it. The same thing with CBN. The CPN, most of the banks you have in this country, they have their headquarters in Lagos. I think 99.9% of them, they're all in Lagos. And you have a CBN department that they call CBN Supervisory Department or Supervision Department based in Abuja. And you are regulating the players in that industry who are based in Lagos. It doesn't make sense. And the people who try to politicize it, I think they are full of remorse because they just didn't get it right.
The Senate Chief Whip, Senator Ali Ndume, says it looks like President Tinubu is not listening because there are political implications for him in the north. It's just
mere. The CBN headquarters is in Abuja. What they are talking about is just I think a major department of CBN that deals with regulating the financial sector players. That's what they said they are moving to Lagos, where it's supposed to be. And you have had the intervention of a former CBN governor who said no. When he was CBN governor, he also had a plan. He didn't do it because Jonathan asked him to go. Otherwise, he would have done the same thing. So there was nothing to it. So people in the north are being fed all kinds of lies, are being told things that should be seen ordinarily for what they are.
Yeah, well, even the Emir of Kano today said that he doesn't really understand those policies and that the government needs more explanation.
There's nothing. The CBN has explained what happened. The fan people, they have explained what happened. I said these are not even the decision of Mr. President. They are just administrative decisions taken by those agencies on their own. But people just now imputed politics into it. There's no politics into it. They're just mere administrative decisions. Okay. Then, as for the protests in the northern part of the country, I quite empathize with our people. As I said, because of the level of poverty that we have in this country, you cannot expect anything less. Everywhere, it's not only in the northern part of the country, even the southern part, everybody is hurting, including you and me.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody is hurting.
Well, I'm not in government. You are the one who is in government, so I don't think
even those who are in government, they are hurting. Everybody is hurting. But as the president keeps assuring us Nigerians that the pain we are going through are temporary, and that it's like a childbirth pain. That very soon, our fellow countrymen will rejoice that things are going to get better. As people say, when things get tough, it will also get better much later.
Okay, just before I let you go, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, does President Tinubu by chance regret his initial resistance to the removal of fuel subsidy in 2012 when then former President Goodluck Jonathan had taken that decision? And could he have by chance apologized to former President Goodluck Jonathan maybe during banters or something like that?
No, I think the circumstances at that time, they were different. Well, at the time, the people who were arguing against it, there wasn't much information about what this whole thing was all about. And people at that time felt there was no justification to have removed the subsidy at the time. You know, the way Jonathan did it, he did it on, I think, New Year's Day.
Yeah.
And people were not really happy that he greeted Nigeria Happy New Year by removing the subsidy. But you see, if you fast forward the clock, in 2023 things were much worse, and the president could not have done anything better than what he did by removing it.
We hope the renewed hope is still on course, especially in terms of $1 trillion economy in 10 years and all of that.
With the raft of policy being implemented by CBN, with the fiscal monetary policies by both the CBN and the Finance Ministry, I believe that there's hope. I believe there will be light at the end of the tunnel. I believe that our country will get better and better, and that whatever we are going through now is just a passing phase. And don't forget that I was telling some people today that what we are going through now is not new in our country. In 1983, if people cast their mind back, 1983, there was this problem of shortages and everything. At that time, we used to talk about essential commodities. People could not get rice to buy, or they were too very expensive, milk, sugar, all those things. And the same thing is happening today now. You find some Nigerians, I will call them very wicked Nigerians, profiteers, and so on. They go to the market, they buy off all those commodities, and they hoard them, waiting for prices to, because when people everybody is rushing to buy something and there's no more available, prices will go up. These people are holding those things. And it's in the place of the government to actually identify them and arrest them. That's what people are saying. When they now see that prices are very high, they bring them out and they make a kill. They make a lot of money. Look at what happened in Kano. The government there found that, I think they stormed 10 warehouses and found edible items stored in warehouses. 10 warehouses, 10. That's why I say there are wicked people who don't love Nigerians. Isn't that the reason why we have a government? And the government is supposed to identify them and serve as a deterrent. Kano state government has taken that step. Right. That's why I was saying that we Nigerians should begin to ask our states to do something. All these things, food being hoarded, they are located in the states. The federal government is in Abuja, has no territory. These territories are under the state. The state government, like what the Kano people did, the Kano government did, all the states should check whether anybody in their state is ordering commodities that should be in the marketplace, that should have brought down the cost of goods. All right, we must thank you so much, Bayo Onanuga. He is the special advisor to the president on information and strategy. He's a former media executive, and of course, he always prides himself as a newspaper man, always. We must thank you so much for helping us to create some understanding, because that's what this program is all about, on government policies. And I'm glad to hear that you're very hopeful that things will happen. But in 30 seconds, how soon do we hope to get, relief from some of these policies? Well, I cannot give a time frame, but I will just say very, very soon. All right. Things will get better. All right. We must thank you so much. And we hope Mr. President is also doing well after last night's encounter with the Eagles and the Elephants of Ivory Coast. Well, you're still watching Arise Prime Time. We've been having a discussion with Bayo Onanuga, this special advisor on strategy and information to President Bola Tinubu.